Global Education. We are a UK headquartered company, and we facilitate interactions between top global universities like Bocconi with us today and prospective students like yourself who are looking at studying abroad as an option, giving you a taste of the classes of what these institutions have to offer, helping you make these choices. Joining me today, all the way from Milan, is Dr. Emanuela. Hello, Doctor.
Hello,
Who is
morning, good afternoon to all of you.
great. So, Dr. Emanuela is an LVMH Associate Professor of Fashion and Luxury Management within the Department of Management and Technology of Bocconi University. She holds a PhD in management from Bocconi University and has served as a research assistant at the St. Galligan University and the Research Center of Technology, Innovation, and E-commerce at the Kellogg School of Management, Northwestern University. She is also the director of the Master of Fashion Design and Experience of the STA School of Bocconi of Management and a senior lecturer within the marketing department. So thank you so much, Doctor. We are really excited to know a lot more about fashion, luxury, etc. Along with her, we also have Veronica Sulu, who's joined us from Milan today. Hello, Veronica. Veronica is the coordinator, graduate guidance, and recruitment person at Bocconi University. She has been in the international recruitment business for 20 plus years. And she, all of you present in the session today, she is your go-to person if you have any questions or queries and want to know a lot more about Bocconi University. So to everyone, all 635 of you and counting, stick around. Let's get to learn a little bit more about this session. Let's get to know a lot more about Bocconi University and its offering. So with that, I now hand over to Dr. Emanuela, if you could get started with your session.
Thank you so much, Sabat. And again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. It's a true pleasure to be here together today to share some ideas about luxury and digital environments. I'm very pleased to have seen before the results of your own poll. So large majority expect to see some impact that digital technologies are playing on the luxury field. And I deeply believe that there are several implications that we would love to explore. Today, we will have just a small let's say, slot to deep dive into some ideas, but I would love to have more chances to explore together with you the different sides of this very fascinating relationship between fashion luxury on one end and digital environments on the others, if you are going to join us in one of our master program. So let's start to deep dive into this field by, let me only, okay. I just want to be sure that I can see properly the screen. Okay, so let me just deep dive into the premise of the session we are sharing today. The core idea that I want to share with you is that it's definitely true that luxury customers are somehow different compared to any other customer. But my point is that these customers that clearly are searching for special experiences, that are clearly very much into exclusivity, that are looking for highly symbolic goods, are at the same time daily embedded into a world where they are doing their grocery shopping on Amazon, they are downloading and they are streaming their own music actually on Spotify, they are jumping on Netflix daily to decide on demand which videos that they want to watch. So it's true that luxury customers are different, but it's also true that they are daily embedded into a context that is deeply changing and where digital technologies are really reshaping the way we are consuming most part of the products and the way we are getting used to have a more on-demand access to any kind of product or service. So this clearly is also reflecting in the kind of expectation that luxury customers have from their own favorite brands. And what is somehow the very clear direction is that it's tougher and tougher to find some fashion and luxury purchases that are not at least influenced by the search of information and the initial feedback that you can get from peers and from the same brands directly in online environments. So what we have discovered is that one of the most common behaviors today is to at least go online for looking in order to look for information and get feedback that are going to shape your further behavior, your decision of purchase in the physical environment. So we have today in the luxury field, statistics say 8 out of 10 purchases that are influenced from the information that you are finding into online environments. So out of 10 purchases happening into physical shops are influenced by previous information that you have collected through some digital channels. This is the classic behavior that we call as ROPO, research online and purchase offline, or also called web roaming. And we see that in some countries, this is even more relevant than in other countries. And we see, just as an example from this BCG Alta Gamma report, that 92% of all consumers are influenced by digital channels, with WeChat ecosystem impacting for 60% of purchases in China. And more broadly speaking, we see that many, so if we look at younger consumers, a significant portion of their own purchases are influenced by some information that they discover into the metaverse. We're going to talk about the metaverse later. It's clear that we're talking about an issue that is still a bit controversial into luxury, but it's at the same time unavoidable to recognize that many luxury brands and fashion brands in general are starting to practice and experience, or better experiment a bit with the metaverse, and are trying to find their ideal approach to get in touch with consumer also through this new point of, let's say, contact. But it's very evident that digital environments are playing a crucial role in shaping purchase decisions and consumer behavior, even into the fashion luxury field, with even a further, let's say, kind of a trend that goes exactly in the opposite direction. From, let me say, the digital environment that supports the decision-making to the physical environment where you are going to take your final purchase decision, to exactly the opposite, let's say, direction, that it's also labeled showrooming, which means that there is a significant portion of consumption decisions that are starting into a physical point of sale, where you enter and you try, you taste, you have a physical experience with the product, but then the final purchase decision, or better, the so-called transaction, is happening into a digital channel. And this is at the moment covering around 10 to 20% of overall purchases into the fashion luxury field. The reasons behind this kind of behavior can be very diverse. It might be that you can find better deals online. It might be that online you can combine together brands from different maisons into a single basket. It might be that you are traveling and you want to have your product home delivered, but notwithstanding what is the reason, it's clear that even this second direction that is labeled showrooming is starting to represent an interesting approach that is deeply impacting on luxury and fashion transactions. So my point here is that, notwithstanding, if you go from the online to the offline, or vice versa, from the offline to the online, today, for fashion and luxury brands that are clearly building their own success and their own competitive advantage, thanks to the capability to communicate and deliver to final consumer a well consistent image and DNA associated to their own name, it's getting absolutely crucial to be well integrated and coherent in all the actions and the initiatives that are taken across all the possible touch points that are offered to consumers to get in touch with a single brand ecosystem. So this implies that all fashion and luxury brands are today required to put in place truly omnichannel strategies, being aware that less than 50% of journeys are mono-channels, and most part of the consumer behavior processes are happening in a back and forth process where consumers are keeping moving from the on to the off and vice versa, notwithstanding what is the initial and the final point. But there is a back and forth process that is clearly requiring to create consistent and well-knitted stories that are developing across all the different channels. Not only it's an issue of integration across channels, but also across devices, where by device, I clearly mean the desktop, the laptop, the app that you develop for your own mobile, and more consumers are starting to have in-app experiences, and even IoT, the so-called Internet of Things, if you are providing consumers the chance also to have intelligent objects that are helping to have a more continuous relationship with your own brand. And then there is a further challenge that has to do with being consistent across different platforms. And in this case, I'm mainly focusing on all the different social media platforms that every brand is today required to master in order to build an effective and engaging storytelling with its own consumers. If we think about fashion and luxury brands, it's clear that the first thought goes to Instagram and TikTok, but we know that different countries also play with different social media platforms, that still YouTube might be relevant for some specific goals, while Twitter for some other more informative purposes. So it's clear that no single brand is today betting on one single platform, but the core goal is to build, again, a story that can deploy with different languages that are coherent with the single platform features, but in a well-connected way. And the capability to really build a story that is deploying across the different platforms where brands are present. And it's also very clear that if you simply copy and paste your own presence into one of these platforms, let's say Instagram into TikTok or vice versa, it doesn't work, because each platform has its own language. And to be perceived as authentic, and we're going to see that authenticity is today truly crucial in order to be appreciated and to create a positive impact on your consumer perception, to build your own trustable reputation. If you really want to be perceived as authentic, it's fundamental to develop the right language depending on the single platform that you are using. So translate the core message according to the proper tone of voice that is related to each single platform, but at the same time maintaining a strong fil rouge that is at the core of your own brand DNA. And this fil rouge is today starting to deploy even across different realities, which means from the physical reality to the augmented reality to the virtual reality, going through many degrees of mixed reality that are still typical, characterizing today the interaction between consumers and brands that are starting to deploy their own first experiences across many of these different new areas for interaction with their final audience. So this is just to say that this omni-channel, omni-device, omni-platform, omni-reality environment is clearly becoming a challenge for every brand into any industry, but for brands such as the fashion and luxury ones that deeply build their own DNA, and also the reason that often justifies a very high premium price that are clearly related, especially to high-end position brands, this kind of consistency is even more crucial. For every highly symbolic industry, such as fashion and luxury, or the design field as well, it's clear that this is a challenge to develop a very consistent message across all the different touch points is crucial to maintain the reason behind the choice and the preference for a specific brand. This is just, for instance, an example by Louis Vuitton that has absolutely clearly understood the importance of identifying a strong core message. For Louis Vuitton, it is the art of travel, because as probably most part of you are familiar with, Louis Vuitton has its core DNA into the trunk segment, so they are related to the luggage world. And the art of travel is the core claim at the root of the Louis Vuitton positioning. And they have been so capable to translate this specific core message with the proper language characteristic of all the different touch points they have decided to use in order to create a truly engaging relationship with their own consumers. And so they moved from the physical city guides that they have developed and they are selling as a physical book into their own main flagship stores across the world, to some geolocalized apps that are providing tips to travel across the world according to the LV spirit, and a bunch of contests for specific YouTube competition, or suggestions for preparing the best luggage that are going to represent a tutorial for consumers who want to really fully explore their own travel experiences according to the Louis Vuitton spirit. And this is a clear example of capability to well integrate and build and knit a consistent storytelling across all the different touch points and platforms that the brand has decided to use, and eventually even stretch this kind of storytelling across different realities, because this is, I think, a wonderful example of how Louis Vuitton has understood the crucial role that technology can play, not as a potential, let me say, competitor of physical retail, but as a potential enabler or even enhancer of the experience that you can live into the physical store. This is just one small example of an initiative that Louis Vuitton has done right after the pandemic in order to bring back consumers into physical stores. As you probably remember, unfortunately, after being in lockdown for several months, it was kind of a challenge to bring consumers back into physical stores, because we were no longer used to stay in very crowded places, and there was still kind of insecurity feeling that was scaring for many consumers. And so what Louis Vuitton has decided to do was to develop an ad hoc concept with some characters from the Zoom with friends leitmotif that they are keeping playing with in augmented reality. And so what they did was to organize this concert in a very specific moment on a very specific day. And they basically invited all consumers to be in front of the physical store, their main flagship store downtown Paris, download a specific app to visualize through their own smartphone the store, the flagship, and assist live to the unique concert organized through augmented reality in order to engage consumers and create a different way to experience the Louis Vuitton brand. And of course, this was to me a wonderful example of how you can use technology not as an option, an alternative to traditional channels like e-commerce versus physical in-store purchase. But in this case, we used, or better, Louis Vuitton used augmented reality to bring people back into the physical store and recreate a new hype in terms of traffic in a moment where it was tough to bring people out of their own apartment. And Louis Vuitton is keeping playing in a very active way with the augmented reality in order to be sure that they can properly engage consumers in the Louis Vuitton spirit. You know that they have done several initiatives in collaboration with Yayoi Kusama, the artist that is playing with these very colorful dots, and they have enhanced the experience in many different places of the world according to this art of travel spirit that I was mentioning before, but augmented and let's say enhanced with the classic feature that is today the iconic signature of Louis Vuitton related to this very famous colorful dot campaign. So it's a way to really recognize that digital technology is playing a role, and luxury consumers are getting more and more familiar with the opportunities emerging from even the more extreme application of digital technologies, but try to find a consistent, smart approach in order to really integrate these new layers, let me say, of virtual reality and augmented reality into the traditional DNA of the brand. This is, to me, the crucial challenge today. How you can benefit from the opportunities created by new technologies in order to create valuable experiences for your own luxury, very sophisticated customers. Starting from the assumption that we have to recognize that consumers are by DNA today more and more omnichannel, even luxury customers. So we need to find a way to rely on technologies and build a truly omnichannel experience to make them feeling more and more engaged across all the different touch points that can bring single consumers in touch with each of their own favorite brands. I think that there are a few different angles that we can take in order to keep offering a very engaging experience for consumers who are getting more and more omnichannel by definition. We probably won't have enough time to cover all these pillars. Of course, if you eventually decide to apply for a master program, we will have the chance to have some specific classes related to each of the bullets that you see into this slide. I just want to quickly touch all these points and then deep dive into a couple of them. I think that might seem a paradox, but in a more global context, where consumers can easily access to the purchase of their favorite products and brands through a click on e-commerce, if you really want to keep bringing consumers into the physical point of sales, you have to play with a unique local touch. So you can't rely on a completely standardized format across the entire global landscape, but you need to re-inject some degrees of local, let's say, contextualization to really make your main flagship store a destination place for traveling consumers who is moving across the world. So paradoxically, in a more global context, we need even more to emphasize the local touch, and we can simply play with standardization. A second crucial, let's say, bullet and core pillar I would love to touch is that today, in order to be dreamy in luxury, is no longer enough to be expensive. For sure, especially luxury items are probably going to remain just for a few. So there is an issue related to scarcity, which comes with a high price point. But being expensive per se is no longer enough to be desirable. Consumers today want to move from the search for aspirational items, aspirational because they are simply very expensive, to inspirational brands that are really capable to share values with their own targeted audience. And this is going to change a bit the approach that many brands have to develop with their own markets. It's not just an issue of changing two letters from being aspirational to becoming inspirational. It's an issue of really being able to build a strong community that is gathering together a clear set of values that are characterizing a specific brand that is going to make a difference in terms of impact on final consumer choices. And there is a huge chapter that we might want to touch related to gamification. If we want to engage especially younger generations, we need to be present, and luxury brands as well have to be present in those contexts where consumers are spending a huge portion of their own time. And video games, especially for younger consumers, are clearly playing a major role. So entering video games, developing digital products, so the so-called digital twin, the digital version of your physical product, and eventually even playing with a non-fungible token is representing a new challenge, which requires to develop a completely new language for luxury brands. But again, if you want to get in touch with your consumers, it's not the final consumer who has to learn your own language, but you as a brand have to understand how to learn and speak the same language of your own targeted audience. And if your younger consumers are playing into that field, are developing that specific language, you have to follow them and to understand how to be meaningful to this specific target, entering eventually a video game if you discover that most part of consumers are getting in touch with brands into that context. Customization is representing clearly a crucial new driver for luxury purchases. And it's clear that, again, digital technologies that are enhancing the chance to develop one-to-one interaction with each single consumer are playing a major role in enabling a new venue of opportunities for customizing most part of items, ranging from luxury position brands to super consumer brands. Even H&M is offering some chances for customizing items or has done some experiment in this direction. And finally, as we were mentioning at the beginning of this session with the poll, the very impressive asset that we are all getting more and more familiar with has to do with enhanced analytics and big data. By interacting with consumers in digital environments, it's clear that we are enabling an incredible amount of data that are going to be recorded, that are going to be traced into our own servers. The more we interact with consumers in a truly omnichannel environment, the more consumers are developing, even without being completely aware, but they are leaving traces behind that are super precious for our own brands. It's like if today we are really sitting on a kind of incredible gold mine of data that have no precedent in our history, in our past history. So for marketing people, this is a dream. We never had the chance to get to know so much, so many things about consumers. The crucial challenge today becomes how to take a meaningful pattern out of this data and rely on this data to drive our own business decision, till getting to discover that just by looking at the brands and the single SKUs, so the single products that consumers are more frequently putting into their own wish list together, we can get to influence and adapt our own merchandising decision. And eventually, we're going to decide which products we should put at the entrance of our own store, one close to the other, taking advantage of the items that are more frequently put together in the same basket or in the same wish list by consumers online. And if you think in this perspective, it's a crucial change, because we are starting to rely on, let me say, digitally generated information to drive our decision into physical retail. It was typically the way around, right? So in the past, we were used to rely on the experience that we had developed into our own physical point of sale to shape the specific e-commerce shelf and the symbol of the cart that was virtually filled in by consumers. Now we are starting to have a kind of opposite opportunity to rely on digitally generated information, even to shape the decision that we take into the physical context. And these are really challenges that are coming brand new, with the opportunities to rely on an incredible amount of data that was not even, let's say, possible to dream into the past. So I know that we have a limited amount of time today. I don't know if we can further jump into some of these specific pillars, or if you prefer to directly open to some questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Emanuela. Very, very insightful. Before we jump into questions, I think we should give Veronica the opportunity to speak and let the audience know a little bit more about the offerings at Bocconi and, what are the various programs, etc. So I think we should get in to know a little bit more about the university as a whole and the student experience. Great. So before we get started, Dr. Emanuela, if you can stop sharing your screen, I would request Veronica to.
Yes, I'm trying to upload my screen.
Yes, it's here.
Yes, I will certainly tie my speech to what Professor Prandelli said so far.
Yes.
You have seen that Professor Prandelli is also an LVMH associate professor here at Bocconi, and this is a clear indication of our connection to the job market, and in this particular case, to the luxury and fashion one. Bocconi is a very renowned university in Europe, excuse me, very recognized for its master programs, for marketing, for business and management topics. We have, as anticipated, our main asset is related to the connections and the involvement of Bocconi professors, the faculty, professors, and administration with the job world. We have several events that connect students to companies like the one you can see here in the photo, a job fair, but also recruiting dates, or also events abroad. We have a specific partnership also with luxury and fashion brands. I can name at the moment one of the most recent with the Kering Group, with our Master of Science in Transformative Sustainability. Emanuela, I'm sure you have a lot of examples about this that you can mention of how much we connect with this type of companies.
Absolutely. If I can just take advantage of this parenthesis that you opened, I have to say that, for instance, into our own course in fashion and luxury management within the SAMS International Management Master of Science, we always run a challenge, which is going to be the core group assignment for our students, together with a maison from LVMH. So every year we engage a different maison, and the top management team from the maison is traveling on purpose, often from Paris to Bocconi, to kick off the challenge, deliver a brief. Our students are working in teams usually made by 4 to 5 students each for 3 months, with some Q&A session where they have the chance to get some tutor and some specific feedback from the same brand. And in the very last day of our course, the top management from the same engaged brand are getting back on campus to listen to their own final presentation. And so at this point, I'm no longer the only one to evaluate the final outcome, but the same top management team from the single LVMH brand is going to listen to their own presentation and express a specific evaluation. I think it's a super rewarding way to learn about the industry and to get a more, let's say, evident proof of how you can impact also some business decision. I have to say that LVMH is especially close to our Master of Science student, and so we have the chance to develop several challenges with them. In the past, in our past experience, we have engaged several brands ranging from Bulgari to Dior to Maison Francis Kurkdjian this year. So we have really a bunch of Moët also. We have a bunch of different LVMH brands from very different segments of the luxury field. And it's a nice way to not only learn from books and traditional teaching sessions, but really put in practice the toolkits that you are going to be exposed to, and have the chance sometimes even to be impactful on some of the decisions that the brands are taking. And we got to discover that some of the ideas coming from our students were further developed. And this is a reason of proudness for all of us.
Yes, that was exactly my point, to understand how companies interact also in the teaching methods and in the classes and lectures and contents of what we teach, but also, of course, when it's outcomes in terms of job and career opportunities. The brand you named are all brands that I recognize among our alumni, our recent graduates, and so I think also being in Milano helps for this specific industry, and this is well proved also by our the statistics of our graduates. Basically, more than 80% have a full-time job the day of graduation, and 97% 1 year after graduation. The 36% related to working abroad is overall to all our programs. Consider that for finance it's more than 60%, along with international management or politics. So of course, as you could understand also from what Professor Prandelli mentioned, we can find good opportunities to our students in companies that are not necessarily in Italy or Italian, but definitely in Europe and worldwide. We were mentioning the Master of Science in International Management, the CEMS program where Emanuela is teaching. Consider that Bocconi offers several Master of Science in the area of management, also in art, culture, media and entertainment, or accounting and finance, economics, politics, and the new area of data science. As I mentioned before, the connection with this type of industry is similar and common to many of our programs. We were mentioning a partnership with the Caring Group associated to the Master of Transformative Sustainability, the LVMH cases that Emanuela was mentioning, referring to international management, but I'm sure that the connection are possible also from many other programs. Just let's say fun fact, the CEO and president of Saint Laurent, Yves Saint Laurent, is one of our graduates. Francesca Bellettini graduated from the Master in Finance. So you can get into the luxury and fashion industry also starting from studying finance. Emanuela, do you have a comment about that?
That's an amazing benchmarking and inspirational, I think, alumna from Bocconi. And I have to say that the privilege is that we really are so much in touch with our alumni. And so it's also an opportunity to bring them back with a very interesting guest speaker sessions. Being located, as you were saying before, Veronica, in Milan, it's also an extraordinary opportunity to organize some company visits. And so having this very precious network of alumni gives us the opportunity to bring our students in many of the headquarters, and especially the plants where the manufacturing process is happening, and you really touch firsthand what does it mean to work into the specific industry. And I think this is a truly unique opportunity that makes the presence, the fact that Bocconi is located in Milan, kind of a unique privilege for those who are especially interested into the fashion luxury field.
Yes, in fact, we are not mentioning the fashion shows happening into our campus during the fashion weeks in Milano. But let's go on. Just a few more information, because I also saw some questions related to also admission. So I want to mention them, and then we will all answer your questions. We are talking about Master of Science programs that are 2-year programs. While you always have an internship that is compulsory, and as you understood, we quite easily find you the right one. Starting from day one at the Master of Science, you have a career coach helping you shaping your career, choosing electives, majors, the internship, the study abroad experience, to make sure that you are in the 97% that 1 year after graduation have a good full-time job in the industry of your dreams. Let's talk briefly about admission. We have a selection process considering a test that can be the GMAT, GRE, that you're very familiar with, or a Bocconi test that you can sit online from home. Then we evaluate your transcripts, your GPA of your bachelor program, your CV, and your letter of motivation, personal statement. We would accept applications mainly from students who are attending at the moment a bachelor degree, okay, or who graduated with no more than 2 years of work experience. Considering that if you have been working for 3 to 5 years, you are more a candidate for MBAs and executive programs that we might talk about in another webinar, I think. We have several selection rounds, so provided you have your test ready, you can still apply for September 2024 by May. Of course, now we are in the middle of the application. We just finished the round 2. My suggestion is, of course, to consider especially round 3 in case you are also interested in merit scholarships. All candidates are considered for merit awards that cover 100% of tuition fees. If you are a female student, especially for programs like finance or the STEM programs, we still offer a full merit scholarships. And also we have several types of need-based financial aid. So the earlier you get in touch with us, the more we can also shape your financial aid package or help you provide all the information needed for a merit scholarship. Bocconi is very much committed to provide talented students all the means to study with us. And in the past year, the rector just said 52 million euros will be contributed for next year to support talented students. So why not giving a try? I don't want to talk about campus anymore. We talked a lot about also career events on campus, and I think it's time to leave the floor to questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Veronica. Thank you so much, Dr. Emanuela. That was very, very insightful. We have quite a few questions which have come in. Veronica, I have also put the link to the SEED scholarship with Bocconi in the chat window. So to
Sure,
everyone in the
correct.
audience, yes. So I am going to repost this link. You all can have a look at it. This talks about the exclusive scholarships that Bocconi University is offering students who are attending this SEED event today. So go and have a look. You are eligible to apply for these scholarships. All of the details are present on this page, and they should help you. In the meantime, if you have any further questions or queries, we are here to answer them for you. With that, I am going to quickly jump into the Q&A one. I'm going to start with a very easy one for you, Dr. Emanuela, from Sabrina, who wants to know, according to your expertise, I'm going to reframe this a little bit. What do you think do Gen Zs or millennials prefer? Like, what are the new shopping trends in the luxury fashion business? Do they prefer going and shopping from a brick and mortar store, or are they more, attuned towards doing online shopping now for luxury brands?
Great question. Let me see if I can quickly share again. I have just one slide. Can you see my slide?
Yes, yes.
So just to quickly answer to this question, we have some statistics that are clearly proving that still Gen Z consumers, if you look at this picture on the right corner, you see that the gray column means never, the pale purple is some of the time, and the blue one is most of the time.
Most of the time.
The question is if Gen Z consumers prefer to buy in a physical store or online. And what you see is that consumers, even younger consumers, are preferring to buy offline, to the extent that, as you see on the left, there are some specific reasons to be into the physical store. And these reasons might be superior customer experience, might be quite often, especially for Gen Z consumers, the chance to customize the product in store. What you see on the right at the bottom is the Maker Lab at the Adidas flagship store. That is a nice way to engage consumers and feeling that there is a reason to be into the store, because they are getting a unique experience, and in this case also a truly objectively unique product. So my answer is for sure Gen Z consumers are by definition omnichannel. They are moving back and forth from the online to the physical world, virtual reality, physical reality, in a very seamless, continuous way. But at the same time, they're still willing to be back into physical stores to the extent they can find a specific reason to feel engaged. And so that's the reason why I think that for fashion luxury brands, customer experience is the crucial area where they can make a difference by providing memorable, different, let's say, initiatives to truly engage their own consumers and make them feeling special.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Emanuela. That was very insightful. Sabrina, we hope that answers your question. And if anyone else in the audience also had the same question. I am going to take this next question for you, Veronica, and I am going to elaborate on it a little bit. Aparjita wants to know, what is the eligibility criteria that you're looking for when it comes specifically to Indian students, those who have let's say, worked in the IT or the STEM industry? Is there any specific criteria that you all are looking for in the students who are applying from India to Bocconi?
Well, for sure, we are very happy to welcome students from more STEM backgrounds, like engineering or mathematics or sciences, because we ourselves, you've seen earlier, we are opening up more and more programs related to artificial intelligence, data science, transformative sustainability. We have a new department of computational sciences. So we are happy to have a more, let's say, diverse and rich environment. For sure, like all the other students, we would consider their GMAT or GRE scores, but again, we are taking very much into consideration the type of background, in a positive way, the type of background that they come from.
Okay, great. So, Aparjita, we hope that answers your question. Just a follow up to that is they want to know what would be the benefit of someone. So typically, for a master's program, we are looking at students who have just finished their graduation or have, let's say, around 2 years of work experience. What would you say, Veronica, or what is Bocconi stand on someone who has a little bit more work experience, 4 years plus of work experience? What would be the benefit for someone coming in with that kind of an expertise to, let's say, pursue a master's program at Bocconi?
So I would have to talk briefly because we are talking tonight about Master of Science programs where the age
Yes,
is still more student-like, okay, while for sure our university offers executive and MBA and programs that are more targeted to adults. But for that,
right.
maybe Manuela can tell us more about that. She's more confident with this subject.
Yeah. So, Dr. Emanuela, would you like to jump in quickly and just give us a brief overview about this?
Yeah, do you want just, sorry, to sum up quickly the
Yes,
question? Sorry,
yes,
I was
yeah.
losing a bit the connection,
No,
sorry for that.
no, no problem.
Yes,
So
it's
we are
correlated to the executive programs for adults. No, Sebat, you are talking about people with 4+ year
for
of work
plus years of work experience.
experience.
I mean, I know that today we are going to speak mainly about master program and Master of Science program. For people who are a bit more experienced, we are also offering some ad hoc post-graduate, post-experience program, such as the Master in Fashion Experience and Design Management. I am the director
Right.
of. So I'm surely more than happy to provide all the information you might like. If you want to get in touch, also writing me an email directly or reaching me out through LinkedIn, super happy to provide you every information you might like. On average, students entering the MAFED, so this Master in Fashion Experience and Design Management program, have 3 years of previous professional experience. And it's a full-time program of 1 year, January to December.
Great, great. I hope that answers. Yeah,
If I can add an information, Sebata, that I was thinking
yeah,
about, we have this partnership with Caring Group in the program in transformative sustainability, which in reality is a collaboration with Polytechnic of Milano. So
right.
students also study basically environmental engineering. And so it's very curious, to learn that companies, fashion and luxury companies, are hiring students who are studying environmental engineering and sustainability. So, I mean, it's not the actual or the usual path, but it's more and more interesting from my point of view.
And getting
Great.
back to new trends characterizing Gen Z consumers, it's clear that sustainability is becoming more and more relevant, also in the fashion field. I mean, we all know that fashion is one of the industries that is mainly contributing to pollution and the stress over our planet assets. And so Gen Z consumers are starting to develop further level of sensitivity to this topic.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. Aparjita and Karan, I hope that answers your question. You all can reach out to anyone at Bocconi. Veronica will be very happy to answer any further questions that you have. So keeping in mind the time frame that we have, I'm going to quickly move on to our next question, which is from Archit. Dr. Emanuela, you can take this up. What Archit wants to know is, what are some of the key challenges that fashion and luxury managers face in adapting to the digital landscape, and conversely, what opportunities does it present for growth and innovation? So of course, we've all been so used to the typical mode of shopping where we are going into a store, trying on something, seeing how it looks, to this entire transition which has taken place where now, as we also saw, the stats speak for themselves, people are shopping online as well as offline. So how are entrepreneurs, or how are the fashion biggies in the game adapting to this rapid change in the digital landscape which is taking place?
That's a very interesting question, which touches probably one of the main challenges that have to be faced in order to properly embrace digital environments for fashion and luxury brands. The core threat, or I don't like to call it threat, but the core challenge, let me repeat, that has been typically perceived is that by definition, when you think about digital environments, the first keywords that come up to your mind are open, accessible, democratic. When you think about luxury, the first keywords that are typically related to luxury are, for a few, not easily accessible, exclusive, scarcity. So it's clear that we are talking about some kind of opposite concepts, right? So the core challenge that many luxury brands have perceived when digital technologies were starting to develop was how to maintain this aura of exclusivity and scarcity into a world that is by definition accessible and democratic. So that's the reason why at the beginning many luxury brands were pretty reluctant to embrace the digital challenge. Nowadays, I think that all the brands have clearly got, they need to be there because the consumers are there. As we said before, it's true that a luxury customer is different from the average customer, but still they are relying on Amazon, Netflix, and Spotify. So you need to learn how to rely on this channel without losing your own distinctive DNA. So we see that there are many different approaches. For instance, a brand such as Chanel has never sold, and probably they will never sell something online through e-commerce. But still, they have learned how to deal an incredibly effective storytelling in terms of communication by relying on the specific languages that characterize digital environments, which means that they have even deployed within a video game called Animal Crossing. They have developed a game where the character of Karl Lagerfeld in the past, who was their own designer. Because as we said before, if you want to get in touch, especially with younger generation, and we might call it that this generation, especially Gen Z consumers, do not represent yet the main buyers of these luxury brands. But if you want to educate them and build brand awareness to make them get into your store, either physical or digital, once they are enhancing their own spending power, you need to start to deal with them in the context where they are more present and they are more familiar too. So you have to learn how to deploy this kind of language. So one of the main challenges, to get back to the question that managers are facing, is really to learn how to talk into a different kind of language compared to what they are more used to. And it's clear that for some older generation managers, embracing the TikTok tone of voice is not natural because they are not digital native by definition. But this is, to me, a tremendous opportunity for the students that are currently connected to this session. Because if they jump into a program which is helping them to develop solid toolkits and conceptual frameworks to deal with these new environments, combining these kind of skills with their own digital native culture, it's a wow, bingo, because they are able to bring in an area where companies are lacking skills and competencies, because you have a very experienced manager, top manager in the operation field, in the brand management field, that is still teaching to everyone how to deal with this function in the best possible way. When it comes to social media environments and social media marketing, there is clearly, most part of the brands are recognizing that they have some lack of skills, and jumping in with a proper set of toolkits plus the digital native mindset might really be a win-win situation that is bringing fresh competencies to brands that are currently looking for managers that can help support their own activity into an area where for sure there is a new story to build.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Emanuela. That was very insightful. Veronica, I'm going to take this next one for you quickly. Someone wants to know, what are the opportunities that Bocconi University is providing for students specifically coming from STEM backgrounds? So what are, let's say, the various programs that they could apply to, or what are the various career options, etc., that someone who is from a STEM background can benefit from pursuing any master's program at
Yes,
Bocconi?
for sure. For students who have a very, let's say, technical background, I always suggest some international management or business management program
Okay.
because they could complement very much the whole profile. We have more and more technical programs where again their background could be very useful to start again, let's say, using and considering the technical knowledges for the benefit of decision making, strategy, and business administration in general. So this is definitely our idea. We have programs where we really, let's say, look at companies and enterprises 360 degrees, providing to students who didn't study any business management before a very clear, let's say, overview of the different functions and specific characteristics of an enterprise. More and more programs are also related and connected to entrepreneurship for students who would like to open up their own company and startup. We have a startup incubator into the university. And so again, for example, we have a program in management of innovation and technology that is very much bound towards entrepreneurship, but also in international management or in the more technical courses. There is very much support also to new ideas from students.
So thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, Veronica. Adya, we hope that answers your question. Coming back to you, Dr. Emanuela, we were speaking about sustainability and how it's become a game changer now. We are all, as individuals, looking for products which are more sustainable. So Pratik has a question here where he's saying, with the rise of sustainability concerns among consumers, how can luxury brands incorporate sustainable practices into their operations and messaging without compromising on the brand image?
I honestly do not see a clash between incorporating sustainability and brand image. To be very honest, I do believe that in the not even long run, but medium run, probably, sustainability is going to become, especially for luxury brands, something close to what in marketing we typically call an hygienic factor. Something that, if present, is not generating a surprise, but if missing, is going to be a reason for dissatisfaction. So I believe that for luxury brands that are typically requiring a significant, a relevant premium price, consumers are somehow starting to give for granted that these brands are produced, or the products coming from these brands are produced respecting the condition of work, so not just environmental sustainability, but also social responsibility. These brands are producing, also taking into consideration the opportunities for recycling. So when we say eco-design, brands that have to design their products by, let's say, from scratch, in order to be to benefit from the circular economy. So I really believe that the new trend goes into this direction where we have, as luxury brand, we are required, let me say, to take sustainability more and more into consideration as a responsibility that consumers expect. We are going to put at the DNA, at the core of our own business approach. And let me say, on one side, we give this for granted. On the other side, we are also going towards some blockchain, again, getting back to the technological dimension of our speech today. We have also some new opportunities coming from technology, such as the blockchain technology, which is going to raise dramatically the transparency over the entire supply chain and the traceability of the product. So somehow, on one side, consumers are expecting the brands taking sustainability as their own responsibility. On the other side, we are starting also to put into the hands of the final consumers more tools to double check that brands are taking this challenge seriously. Let me just end up with a small consideration. For sure, sustainability into the luxury field has to do with eco-design, with the circular economy, trying to, let me say, minimize waste and find a responsible way to also, let's say, deal with the farms from which your animals are coming from. So there is a dimension of sustainability that has clearly to do with the product configuration. But I think that another interesting angle to take when we deal with sustainability has also to do with the consumption model or the approach we are, let's say, starting to develop in consuming luxury goods. And I'm specifically referring to the boom of at least two relatively new approaches to luxury consumption, namely second-hand and rental. So especially younger consumers are looking at sustainability, not just considering the extent to which a product has been done with recycled fibers, but sustainability can also be related to the consumption mode, where the idea is that it might seem a paradox, but even within luxury, ownership is not necessarily the only door to enter the, let's say, fruition of a luxury good. But you can start to consider that you rent a luxury item just when you need it. Or you buy an item that was pre-loved. In luxury, we don't say pre-owned. We tend to prefer to say pre-loved by someone else to extend the life of the product. And in this respect, I think that we are, let's say, facing today, we are assisting to the emergence of very interesting new experiences. And again, digital platforms are making possible for some luxury brands to start to develop their own second-hand or pre-loved market.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Emanuela. I know we have overshot our time and there are quite a few questions still. I am going to take this as a last question, which is accumulation of a few questions that a couple of people have asked. What are the career opportunities which are sort of available for someone who has to go and pursue a master's in fashion, technology, etc.? Like, what are the different career opportunities that they can look for an international student who comes to Bocconi University to pursue this particular master's program?
You want to go ahead, Emanuela? Maybe you have a lot of students you can think about.
I just wanted to ask, what do you prefer, Veronica? Sure, I'm very happy to take this question. I think that if I consider my experience and I look back to the many alumni, no longer students, that I have met throughout the many courses I have taught into this field, our students are mainly entering the job market, let me say, from usually 4 doors. More recently, there is also a 5th one. These 4 doors have mainly to do with marketing and customer relationship management. This is representing a crucial area within the fashion luxury field that our students are taking when approaching the job market. Retailing and buying, that's another important area. Do not underestimate retail, because it's really the best way to get in touch with the product and with the final consumer. So that's another career opportunity. Merchandising, it's another important field. So the capability to develop the collection of different products. And you know that especially in fashion, you need to play with several collections per year, no longer just seasonal collection, but many drops throughout the year. So it's a very, let's say, challenging process that you need to face. And believe it or not, you feel that playing with merchandising is the way to get more closely in touch with the product, which is definitely true. But keep in mind that the interaction with the product is still mediated by an Excel file. So this is just to say that being very confident in playing with analytics, with numbers, is very fundamental. That's the reason why we ask our students to really, let's say, familiarize with some tools. that are not less fancy compared to, let's say, PR and communication, but simply very much needed to take sound decisions. Even in creative industries, I mean, data-driven decisions are becoming more and more common. So it's not because you are playing into creativity that you can take the freedom to be less rigorous. You need to be even more rigorous because you need to create a bridge between the, let's say, designer component of the company and the managerial part. So that's just to say very clearly that you do not need the less management tools because you are in a more creative industry. It's actually the way around. And then the fourth door is digital. Everything which has to do with digital. Maybe e-commerce, social media marketing, everything that really relates to the omnichannel environment we were mentioning before. The fifth door that I was just saying is getting more relevant, as a start to become more relevant in a more recent time, is related to sustainability. So again, we are all talking about sustainable transformation. We have a new master in this direction. And it's clear that as it was for digital a few years ago, this is representing a major driver of change that every company has been required to take into consideration, also accomplish from, let's say, some rules perspective. And as it's a new, relatively new field of development, we need to reinforce the skills that are typically available already within the company. So some new opportunities also to build interesting career paths are emerging.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Emanuela. Thank you so much, Veronica. I know I have taken up much more of your time than I should have, but thank you so much for being here today, giving us this amazing presentation and answering all our questions. To everyone, all 187 of you who are still in the audience video, thank you so much for sticking around. I know there were a few questions related to scholarships. Veronica spoke about that. I've also shared the link to the SEED scholarships. And that is, those are the details. Please take a screenshot, get a screen grab, connect with.
Yes, just let me share the email address and the contact details of our office, our Instagram account, and also if you are interested in delve more about the programs, we have an open day on campus and online that you can watch like tonight live from home.
Great, great. Thank you so much. So thank you once again, Veronica and Dr. Emanuela. Have a nice day ahead and thanks. Bye-bye.
Let me just take the chance to thank you for your time and the passion to listen to us. It was a true pleasure to get in touch. Good luck to all of you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Buonasera. Ciao.
Buonasera. Ciao. Ciao.